This is Space Cat's Peace Turtles, the unofficial podcast for Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium. Episode 42, GenCon Preamble. Music by Ben Prunty, featuring Matt Martins and Hunter Donaldson. Hunter, have you packed your bag?
No.
Me neither.
In fact, I got wet clothes at home.
I have dirty clothes, that's for sure, and I have nothing organized, none of my gear packed.
We won't be in the air when they hear this, really. I mean, we'll be on our way, but...
We'll be on our way. We'll be in the air. For some of them, we'll be in the air.
That's
for you
true.
listening right now...
Oh, and even for the listeners that listen to this years from now.
Here's who I want to talk to right now. I want to talk to the people who listen to podcasts on airplanes.
Yeah.
Someone out there today listening to this is on
crazy.
an airplane.
That's really crazy.
At the same time that we are on an airplane. And they're listening to
recording this live into their head.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope someone is on our same flight.
Excuse me, could I get a ginger ale? Thank you.
Yeah.
Steward lady, man.
And the person sitting behind us kind of looks up and goes, wait a second. I just heard it in my headphones, but I'm also watching that stupid-looking man over there make the same face and talk to his stewardess. Is that Hunter Donaldson on my flight? And it's not, because Hunter doesn't look like a stupid man.
But I am a stupid
But
man.
but he doesn't look like one.
I just don't look it. Yeah, that's true.
We are on our way to GenCon.
Right
And that's
now.
what this episode is about to be about, which is an interesting... I bet you if you listen to a lot of board game podcasts, this is all you've listened to all day, all week. I bet you're almost getting sick and tired of listening to people talk about the fact that GenCon is about to happen.
Yeah,
But
but every pod is just like
every
how
pod
we're
is just,
excited
we're
to
going
party,
to GenCon.
and we're not so into doing this right now. We're just excited.
We're
to
really
go do...
focused on this big stinking trip we have to do.
Right.
So that's what we're gonna also do today. We're gonna take the easy way out, and we're gonna talk about two things really. First, like our expectations for the tournament and just what we want to see as fans of the game. What kind of things we want to see happen, and then talk about what we want to see from the convention, because we'll have a little bit of time to actually explore the convention. And we love TI, but we love other stuff too. So let's kind of...
I mean, I don't love other stuff.
No, Hunter
honestly.
only loves
I only
Twilight
like
Imperium
TI.
and comedy.
Yeah, and
Those
I
are
don't.
the two things we know about Hunter.
Well, I've never played any other board game. That's the thing.
except
That's
for-
the crazy thing about me.
Except for lots of pachinko. Is that a board game?
Nope.
No.
That's that.
That's that Price is Right game. No, that's
No.
Plinko. Pachinko. Is that a thing?
We still haven't.
Parcheesi.
What I want you to know is that we still haven't started.
No, we've started and now we're digging into the real stuff. Hunter, what is the number one thing from the Twilight Imperium tournament at GenCon 2018? What is the number one thing you hope to see?
That I want to see. I want to see somebody get upset and throw stuff.
Yeah, I want to hear someone scream.
Yeah, I want to. I think I just want to see just really unexpected stuff happen.
Yeah.
In general.
Right.
I want a lot of drama baked into it.
There will be a total of 7 games in this GenCon tournament. That's what we're expecting to see, which when I word it that way, it's not that many games. 7 games, but they're huge games and it's a big deal.
Well,
and it's
6
gonna
of
be,
those games are going to be timed, and that's why I think it's going to actually
that's going to
be
get
dramatic.
really crazy. Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely going to give you, like, we've already, we've said in prior episodes that we're going to give you the finals, like however that goes.
Yeah.
We're really going to give you that story. But I do expect that there is going to be a lot of funky stuff in those prelims.
And we'll try to capture as much as we physically can. There'll be 3 tables happening at once while we're trying to record all 3 of them.
Right.
So expect that kind of footage. Someone recently compared it to the World Series of Poker, and I think that is a perfect comparison of the kind of coverage we will get.
Right.
At the World Series of Poker, there's like 1,000 tables going on at once.
Right.
And they just here's a highlight, here's a highlight, here's a highlight.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the main final table, there's only 6 players left. You get every last second of
get the whole
everything that
thing.
happens. And that's very, very similar to what we hope our coverage will look like on the other end.
But I'm thinking, because the finals, there's not really going to be a time limit, but those
No.
prelim games all have a
6
pretty
hours
yeah.
with completely, like, 6 hours playing with absolute strangers where you have to, like, take the time to, like, figure out kind of what their MO is. That's not a lot of time.
No, it really
in a
isn't. I mean,
six-player game.
we know each other, and we never really finish.
Yeah,
under
it's funny how
6.
we started out finishing really fast.
Yeah,
our
that's
first like
true.
4 or 5 games were like 5 hours or less every
Right.
single time, and so our first impressions of TI4 was like, oh yeah, it plays faster, it plays a lot faster. But as we've figured the game out more, we have slowed down dramatically, and so I'm curious to see if the tournament will have that same problem of like, no, these are good players that want to think about their turns, and like that means it's going to take some time,
Right.
and that means they're not going to have time at the end of the game when it really matters. I think at least one game will get decided by the clock being called.
Yes.
At least
yes,
one.
for sure. And that is going to be the one I really want to pick up stuff on.
'cause
'Cause that's going to be
Talk
crazy.
about wanting to hear someone scream. There
Yeah.
will be someone incredibly upset with the results of that game. I don't know that I want to see this, but I expect to see some really weird support for the throne trades or like last minute things.
Yeah.
Weird spite plays. I don't even know. I don't know how crazy people will get, but I expect there to be some things to talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Like I know there will be at least like one support for the throne trade where the whole table is like, you cannot do that this round. That is
Right.
absurd.
Right.
We will not allow it. And like the whole board will just get hung up on this one trade someone is going to try to pull
We're
off.
definitely going to name something after someone.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're going to make someone famous for a
for
certain
doing
play.
a crazy behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really can't wait to see how these time limits just affect every decision throughout the whole game. I mean, because it's the same way for like me working on film sets. Everyone knows that you got 12 hours and then the day is done. But like so often it still is like, oh, the first half of the day everyone's kind of taking it easy. The second half of the day the director starts to figure out, oh wait, I'm coming up to a time crunch. And then the last half hour it's just like, okay, and then we'll get a shot of that and then we got to move on and then we'll get a shot of that, and like that's what the last round of every one of these games is going to be. It's just like, I don't know, I do this action because I just need to get to the end of the round before so that I have a chance to score or whatever, and people will just be making like lightning fast plays for the last
except for the
half
leader.
hour. Except for the person who's in the lead who's just like, well, I hope we get one elimination. I mean, I don't hope that for the sake of the player who ends up
being
eliminated, but I feel like there's no way at least one person doesn't get eliminated at some point. I mean, I hope it's not an early elimination, but that's what makes the most sense. Every elimination I've seen so far has been in the first couple rounds.
I mean, I think we're going to see someone attempt to eliminate.
Yes. Oh, definitely. At the very least, we will see an attempt.
That's going to definitely happen. And I'm so excited for it already. I mean, I think seeing player elimination at the final table would be hilarious and kind of amazing. Like, I wouldn't honestly, if I was at that table and I got eliminated, like I wouldn't even be sore about it. I'd be like, wow, what a.
I would be sore about it, but I'm a
I never see
sore
elimination, so like,
yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, wow, this was a really special game. Like,
that's true.
It just changed.
It's true.
The general rules.
I hope that the people in these games can think of it in that context of like the grander scheme of just like, like remembering that TI is always about like the story of the game, and every story, like I'm afraid of people putting a lot of pressure on themselves because this is the TI tournament, and I feel like it's an important moment to bring up the idea that like this game doesn't belong in tournaments. Like this is a stupid thing that we are doing.
Oh, it is pretty
when
stupid.
It comes down to it. This is not a purely tactical game. This is not a purely strategic game. There are lots of elements that prevent this game from coming down to, and the best player definitely won every single time, no matter what. Like, there are so many instances where it's just like, oh, Gary won?
Right.
Why did we let Gary win?
Gary win? Well, you know, the thing is, though, that kind of paradox, though, is just baked into the game itself, though.
Yeah.
This is perfect that there is a tournament and that we are adding all of this drama to it.
Well, you have to add
because that's how the game even works.
Again, the comparison to poker. It's like you can be a really good poker player, but like if you don't get dealt the hands that are going to help you win, then you're probably not going to do so great. Like if you if you never get a good hand, then you'll never win the tournament.
Right.
And so there is a lot of that same aspect of just like, yeah, we're going to see who does the best with what they can, and we'll see who comes out on top. And they may not be the same person.
Yeah.
But each storyline will matter as much as the next one. I mean, that's especially what I'm hoping for that finals game where we're really capturing like every moment. I really hope we get to dig into like what every player is trying to accomplish and do and how they get thwarted between each other. Just so much. I can't wait to see all of that interaction. I want to be able to look behind the scenes and see when someone is doing something just absolutely crazy. Like I want to see those like ridiculous last-ditch efforts and know what they have at stake behind it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, my goal is for us to name a play after a player.
Right.
Like that. Right. That is a very hardcore goal of mine. Maybe I'll even get to the point where it doesn't even make sense.
It's just like that's the Jensen, folks.
Right, right. That's the Jeff play is when you pick leadership on round 2. Like it's like
but people do that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff did it in the finals, and it was awesome.
But Jeff does that, so that's why that's Jeff's play.
What do you? We wrote down some things we want to see. And you said upsets. I want to know what an upset in Twilight Imperium looks like to you. What do you want to see?
Okay, if the winner of the finals is not playing as Jolnar, Sol, Khan,
right,
Isarl,
yeah. I know we both want to see one Winnu player.
I want to see a Winnu player. I want to see a Winnu player in the finals, and I want them to. That's the Desperate Gambit. That's Jeff's last.
I'll say this much to anyone listening: if you listen to Space Cats Peace Turtles and you are competing in the tournament and you make it to the finals, you can guarantee that if you play as the Winnu, we are going to interview the bejesus out of you. We will not leave you alone because all I want to do is understand your storyline in that last game if you play as Winnu. I want to know every minute detail to every plan that you had.
I mean, I think on a larger, more like serious level, I would like to come away from the tournament feeling like we didn't understand the full capabilities of at least one faction.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
kind of like because we've talked about that in the future we and I mean I think you'll see this like regardless some revised first round strategies for like especially the very early factions that we covered. It would be super cool if we saw somebody that played a faction in a way that we'd never thought of before, and then it just burst open our whole idea.
Right. Someone who just nails the Muwat.
Right.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's like neither of us have ever been able to fully say that like Muwat is just utter garbage. It's more just like, man, it's such a tricky puzzle, and there's so much to like.
Right.
It's really hard to nail it and come away with a strong game. And yeah, I would love to see someone just like, no, I tried this, and it totally works in this setting.
Yeah.
I think the tournament setting will change how some factions need to operate.
Right.
You know, I mean, if we think about like what is at stake in a tournament setting, I think it does knock Jolnar down a peg, to be totally honest. Like Jolnar does get some automatic. I played it. This is maybe coming from. I played a Jolnar game just the other day on a 3D 3-player map that I made, and it was horrible. It was one of the worst games I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I just mean that from the standpoint of I had a bunch of really bad luck, and I did my normal thing where I like stretch myself kind of too thin. And
That's not good with Jolnar.
No, it's not good with Jolnar. And I feel like in a tournament play, especially like just sitting back and kind of playing safe and like hoping to ingratiate yourself with all the other players, I just don't think that kind of stuff is gonna work as well because everyone's gonna be like triply in their own self-interest,
right?
Compared to a normal game. A normal game, even if you're playing with people that care about winning, there's still a certain level of like, well, I want to see how things shake out, and I kind of want to go with the flow. I think people are going to play much more conservatively, and so factions that need that kind of like airy space between them and other players, I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's going to feel like everybody's got a gun on the table kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's. I wonder how stiff the negotiations are going to be,
right?
And if there's going to be like any wiggle room. Wouldn't it be hilarious if in the finals they were all just like super sweet to each other? And then, like,
you guys want to trade? Everyone go around the table and give your support for the throne to the player on your right. Okay.
And no fighting.
No fighting at all.
We're going to lay down a no fighting rule. If you win by fighting, then that's not Twilight Imperium. All right. And then and that's how Twilight Imperium changes. Is that from now on, we're like, no, that game's all about peace.
I want one total new player.
Yeah,
to be at the table.
Somebody that is never
and for them,
and they're gonna be so confused by us being there.
Yeah, like, why are these cameras here and what is going on? And but even more so, just like the types of decisions that would come up when one, because this happens in previous years. We've been told this before, that like because TI3 was never like the hot item on the market, you know, for the past 10 years. And so the TI tournaments were always mostly people just like, oh, I want to try Twilight Imperium. And the only opportunity to do that is this tournament. So I guess I'll play in this tournament. And so you get so many new players. I wonder if TI4 will have that same problem, and what kind of impact is that going to have on a game of, like you said, like 5 people have guns on the table,
right?
And one person like brought his mom to just come hang out. Like what is the expectation of that player?
Cheryl, which faction should I pick? It's amazing that Twilight Imperium isn't that. This is a complete sidebar from what we're talking about, but it's crazy that Twilight Imperium isn't more popular. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
I think this has always been what I have stood by, but I think people talk it up to be more difficult than it truly is.
Yeah, like there's kind of like a negative PR thing out there.
Yeah, just against its the learning curve of it. It's like it's kind of a big rule book.
Somebody had like a podcast that
only someone was just there to say, come and play it with
I'm
anybody.
Just saying, there's a cat on the cover. Like, well, how
pretty friendly.
Yeah, how consumer friendly.
You all watched The Lion King. Why aren't you playing Twilight Imperium?
Right,
I don't get it.
Right.
Same exact cover.
Right.
As far as I can tell.
If you put a cat on something, everybody buys it. I thought that's just like the general logic of everything.
That's how Camel Up won. You put a camel on the cover of something, and it's like, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah. Well, let's make one last Twilight Imperium point, at least one more before we move on to Camel Up, which is definitely what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Camel Up.
We're going to talk about a lot of Camel Up because that's what we're going to play for sure. What I really want, and what I feel like we've been kind of getting at with the Discord and with Tabletop Simulator games in general, is I want more of an idea of all the different types of Twilight Imperium styles and attitudes of players.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of getting to a point now where I feel like I've played with enough different people. Like, okay, so Twilight Imperium before TTS was kind of this thing that you play like in kind of a cave with your friends. You know what I mean? Like everyone is very separate, and we still encounter that all the time when people will talk about, like, we'll say something and they'll be like, "That's crazy," because like
never happened in my
cave. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But this is a really interesting opportunity to sort of take a snapshot of a lot of people from all over the country playing, and maybe even all over the world. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some,
But yeah, each of them bringing their own styles into it, and like you get. I mean, yeah, it kind of goes against what I was saying earlier, but like the idea that everyone is going to be pure poker face, no BS. Right. That's just not going to happen, because that is not like 50% of people's experience with Twilight Imperium.
Right.
There are so many people that play it as a purely meta game. It's like they don't even care about the numbers. It's like, no, I'm just going to play my opponents and I'm going to win that way.
And I think, like, style of player, though, there is something, like, one of the things that also makes this difficult, besides the whole, like, kind of, like, separate cave effect of Twilight Imperium, is also that, like, you encounter, so many times when you play Twilight Imperium, you're playing with somebody that doesn't already know how to play the game.
Right.
And I feel like to actually have your own style and attitude, you do have to know how to play the game pretty deeply. It's something that develops after. Like, I know the difference. Like, I've played with people who are new players, and they best me, and they do better than me.
Right.
But, like, when you play with somebody that has played for a while, the difference isn't necessarily that they're just, like, 100% across the table better.
No.
But they have a style of play that you can characterize.
Right.
And I would like to have a lot of players like that. You can tell in listening
to this
podcast.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
A new player can, like, discover a good play and do it and pull it off. An experienced player already had that play in mind and is pushing to make it a reality.
Right. Can kind of cater to it. But I mean, there's been a lot of people that we have played Twilight Imperium with since starting this show, whose effect has been felt on the show.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
So many times we've brought up,
players that change. I
mean, I would say Doug is probably the most often brought up player, just because we play with him the most. But I mean,
but he also is outside of our experience, and so we're always fascinated by his plays because it's just not what we would have thought to do in almost every instance.
Right. And I just want to have a bunch more, names in that.
Right.
Of people that just kind of approach the game a different way. There was one day, I remember when we played TTS with David S. Knorr, And afterwards, we just had a really lovely conversation about like how that game played out.
You were obsessed with him for like a month after that.
I really
like
was.
Genuinely, like you couldn't stop talking.
I just really like the way. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, and if, Dave, if you're listening, it's a shame that we have not played since then. It's just been such a crazy summer. But the way that he thinks about the game is just different.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just haven't met somebody that thinks about the game like that and talks about it in that way.
Exactly.
And I think meeting people like that, it's going to affect the show, which is good. I like the idea of kind of having this like sort of symposium where like the show is going to kind of like widen because we're going to get a lot more perspectives.
Right.
You know, TTS can only go so far. It's kind of it's kind of shallow in that way. But, you know.
Yeah, and so all that being said, too, outside of the tournament, let's talk a little bit more about Gen Con. The first and foremost thing is we want to play Twilight Imperium 2 while we're at Gen Con. I mean, we want to get in at least one game. I don't know how much time there will be to do, like, it's not like we can play, like, a game with everybody, because then we'll be up at all hours of the night.
Well, how big is our crew?
We have 7 people. I know, right? Well,
so we gotta leave one of them out.
We gotta leave one of them out.
We're definitely gonna have at least a crew game.
Well, regardless of that, though, like we want to, Hunter and I, I'll say this much: Hunter and I are gonna be there on Sunday at Gen Con, not recording any TI, just hanging out. We blocked Sunday off for ourselves to hang out with you and play stuff with you. That's like the perfect. If you're gonna be at Gen Con and you want to play TI with us, hit us up.
That's the day.
Email us, tweet at us, whatever it takes. Get at us and see if you've got a chance to do something on Sunday, because that's definitely the best day to do stuff, because we've got that completely wide open to hang out with you guys. And we want to do that. We want to experience, like we were just saying, we want to experience everyone's styles, and we think it makes our show better when we play with more varied groups. So definitely hit us up. We also just want to see everybody in general. So if you find out where the event is for the tournament, I don't have it pulled up right now, like what exact corner of the floor it's going to be on, but come over there during the tournament and come check us out. I mean, we'll be the idiots with like completely wrapped up in octopus style gear. Like we'll just be drowning in cables and camera lenses.
And Matt will be like yelling at
and
me,
I'll be like
I'm gonna have
freaking
like a notebook
out. Yeah.
And I'll be like scribbling in it really fast, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, I listen to the show," and be like, "That's
cool. I don't have time right now."
Like, thank you.
We will have time, but we'll act like we don't, because we'll be freaking out because we've never done this before.
Right.
But come by. I will say this much, just as a caveat to that. I know that it is cool for people to come and like check out the games and watch them. There will be a strict do not talk about the table at the table.
At the table. Yeah.
We used to call it, what is it? Save it for the bus.
Save it for the
Save
bus.
it for the bus.
Weird.
Don't, yeah, isn't that a weird pull?
Callback.
Anyways, the point being, don't talk about the strategy of the game while the players are playing it. You can step away, but none of us want to be influencing the game. We just want to see it all happen. So you're more than welcome to come and hang out and watch, and maybe we'll even, if I'm going to have Hunter and I are going to have notebooks full of notes. So if you want to come in and be like, what happened the past hour? Like,
oh yeah, we can
Hunter and I are
going to
know
tell you all about it.
Yeah. So yeah, come hang out, see the games.
Also, our friendliest friend is going to be sitting on a laptop dumping footage all day. And if
we had a production
meeting
meeting, and then it turned into, oops, Paul just has to sit away from us and not have any fun for 3 days.
Right.
Sorry, Paul.
So
You're the most personable of all of us, and we threw you in the corner.
Right.
I feel terrible.
I'll be hunting for friends for Paul. If you come over and you're just like, I just want to talk to people, I'll be like, ooh, I got the
man
to talk
for
to
you,
right now.
and he is more man than
he is the sweetest boy. We've got such a good squad.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys. Yeah, if you come and see us, you'll get to meet the people that we kind of grew up playing TI with.
Right.
Alex won't be there. Alex has been on the show a number of times. He didn't get to come, but Connor, who's been featured on the show, he'll be there. Connor, the infamous Connor. Everyone can come and dump a bowl of water on his head.
Right. You can make confusing legal text jokes.
Sean will be there. Sean did the gummy race. Sean's been on the show a couple times. He was in the stream. Yeah, all these people that we're pretending are famous for some reason, but it's just our friends.
Yeah, and what's great about all of them is they don't listen to the show.
Yeah, so you can say anything about them, lie about things we've said about them, and I will always go with whatever you say.
Yeah, just be like, dude, in episode 13, they just posted pictures of you when you were a baby. All they did was talk about your baby bomb.
They renamed the podcast for a day, just Connor Connor.
I mean, it is kind of true that we've talked about Connor a lot.
It's because he's such an idiot.
Right.
And made such a horrible mistake.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, at the rest of Gen Con, what else are we going to do? We're going to see the show floor at some point. We're not like... This is an interesting perspective for us to have. We're not like media at this event.
No,
we're not official media. We have permission to film the TI tournament, but it's not like you guys are going to get like the fresh take of all the stuff going on at Gen Con from us. We'll probably talk about some stuff in episodes afterwards of just like, oh man, this was crazy and this happened. I mean, if there's an expansion announced, like, yeah, we're going to talk about that. I will throw out there.
Hopefully, if there's an expansion announced, we can get
our hands on it.
I mean, we'll burst through the doors.
I do not expect an expansion. I don't know if I'm in a minority there, but in no way do I expect an expansion.
I don't really expect an expansion either.
It's been too soon now, and I get people will say the first TI3 expansion came out a year after release. Well, TI3 base game had way more issues than TI4 base game.
Yeah, TI4 was.
TI3 was like broken.
Yeah, TI3 was broken, but TI4 was so solidly put together that it's hard to imagine that they put that out and was just like, yeah, let's
immediately rush into the next thing.
Immediately rush in. It feels. I mean, I don't want to take any era out of anybody's balloons, but honestly, TI4 is so solid and complete a product that I could imagine
never.
Yeah,
me too. And I want expansions. I want to see where else they can play in the space. And they left them. They clearly, in the language of it, left themselves room to write more stuff into it. But I agree with you that the game is solid enough where it's like I could play this game forever. I really could.
It's very, very complete.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Right. We also want to check out other stuff, and we want to have opportunities to talk about other games afterwards, especially like if there's any like cool big grand strategy games that like get announced at Gen Con. We're going to want to take a look and kind of compare and contrast them to TI. I mean, that's a direction we already want to take the show. So this is a big point of.
Are you saying that we're eventually going to make the show where it's like it's not just about Twilight Imperium, it's about science fiction?
No, everything
games.
will always be relative to Twilight Imperium, but obviously, like stuff borrows from. We've talked about it before. Stuff borrows from TI, and TI borrows from other stuff, and we like to explore kind of that.
I just think it's funny if we shifted and still kept it super specific, like we widened.
It is still about space operas,
right? No, only space operas. Hey, what about there's a new Star Wars game coming out. No.
Space pre-established, no established universe space operas. We want original space operas only. Thank you.
Right.
But I will say this much: Hunter and I are not board game experts. We don't read up on all of the latest news. So I would genuinely appreciate if you're on Twitter or like on our Discord, like hit us up if you hear about announcements of stuff you want us to check out and you want to get like our opinion on or whatever.
Let
us know what we should go look at. We genuinely are going into this pretty blind, and we just want to. If you guys suggest things to us, it is probably something we're going to enjoy because we're coming from a pretty similar mindset. So I trust anyone and everyone to just like, hey, go play this weird game. Okay. Cool.
And you know what? I mean, not to be a jerk about it, but you owe us. We played TI all year for you. We play
against our will.
Literally.
Yeah, we hated every second of it.
Well, no, that's not true. But I mean, we do definitely prioritize Twilight Imperium above
let us play something different. Is that what you're saying? You're saying, please let us off the hook to play something different.
What I'm saying is that I have not had
for
time
to
be interested in any other board games. So yeah, I'm not informed on all the board game news. I didn't have time this year at all. So yeah, tell me what to play.
Tell me what to play.
Tell me the cool thing that the kids are all excited about.
I played Innis not that long ago and was like, wow, where has this been? And everyone else was like, it's been around. People know what Innis is, you idiot.
We literally take this one board game and we just put our faces right up to it, like all the way. It's the least you could do.
We also want to meet some other board game people. If you've got other favorite board game podcasters, or if you are a board game podcaster,
that's what it is. If you're a board game podcaster and you listen
hit us
to the
up.
Show, hit us
we
up.
We want to do stuff. This is us stroking our own ego and wanting to ingratiate ourselves with other media personalities. But more importantly, it's like we feel a part of this community, and I wanna meet people and get better acquainted with the board game community at large.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't speak for Matt, but I mean, I'm really good at meeting people. So Like, don't be put off by.
I want to apologize in advance for anyone who comes up to me and just at how weird I'm gonna be.
There's gonna be at least one, maybe several awkward interactions.
It'll be me side-eyeing Hunter and asking him to bail me out because I don't know how to. I just don't know how to introduce myself to a person.
We are such a weird duo when it comes to this because we're both obviously
there's nothing
nerds.
I like less than being out and about.
Right, and that's like
that's
that's all
life.
I do
That's
is
your
just
entire
throw
life.
myself out in front of people all the time, pretty much constantly.
Oh my gosh. I'm just realizing what a mistake this was.
It doesn't really make any sense. I'm just really excited to meet a lot of people at GenCon in general.
Honestly, that is what it is. Even though I say I'm like an anxious person, like I do want to meet as many people as possible.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to GenCon, is to meet people.
And the whole thing is like, I mean, after saying all of that, Matt, like we're going to have something in common with all of the people at GenCon, being that we're all at GenCon. If anything, I'm probably going to be a little more out of my element, not having any comedy people to relate to. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that we're looking forward to meeting. And if you are potentially one of those people, like, please hit us up.
Yeah.
We're gonna be there, but we're also gonna be like getting dinner afterwards.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I think that's an important thing. I think we will be. We say this in the rundown for those of you that actually listen to the rundown. In our Twitter, we do
the best part of the show.
It's the best part of the show.
It really is the best part of the show.
When we say we do announcements on our Twitter, this will be like the number one time that is relevant. If Hunter and I are like, all right, we're going to Sun King Brewery, see you there.
Right.
Like, that will be on Twitter. So if you want to keep up with us, if you're at Gen Con and want to know where we're going to be and when to hang out with us, that will be the best way to kind of keep in touch with us. Joining our Discord will be another way. We'll probably do some postings on Discord, but I feel like Twitter will be where I try to focus most of that energy, just because it's easier.
Also, here's something weird and specific that just occurred to me. I obviously my focus is on Gen Con while I'm in Indianapolis, so I did not even think about getting any stand-up comedy spots for myself. If you work for a comedy club in Indianapolis, hey!
Yeah, get an open mic or something. Or whatever.
I'm not going to waste my time with an open mic while I'm in Indianapolis.
You're just assuming you're going to get booked on a show.
That's not what I'm saying.
In Indianapolis,
no.
Indiana.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if by some weird chance somebody could get me a guest spot on something, I would love it. But no, I'm not going to... That would be disrespectful to you guys for me to go do an open mic and be like, hey, I got to take a break from doing this
real
crazy project that we have been preparing for the entire year.
Yeah.
To go wait all night to do 3 minutes.
Go 15th.
To go
lineup.
15th in the lineup, or to perform for 5 stand-up comedians and like a dog. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's about all we wanted to cover in this episode. This really is just our lead up to Gen Con and what we expect and how we want to see you all and everything. Yeah, not much analysis. Sorry for that, but we've been planning so many other things. We didn't really plan a big analytical episode for you.
I mean, this is... You know what we forgot to say?
What's that?
That I really wanted to talk about, though?
For it.
Oh, wait, we talked about Winnu.
We mentioned
Winnu.
Winnu.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you want to say?
I don't remember.
All right, that's
Will
fine.
you please keep this in?
Yeah, I sure will. Let's do the rundown right now.
You just want to do the rundown?
I just want to do the rundown right now. I want to do the rundown before the break.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, because all right, I get what you're saying, is that the ways to contact us are especially important this week.
So let's do it. Let's talk about the ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah, if you're at Gen Con, if you're not at Gen Con and you just want to see what we're doing, because I'm going to have to actually be on the Twitter and like posting and stuff. I don't like social. Well, you know what it is? I'll say this, a little peek behind the curtain. I do enough social media for all kinds of stuff.
Right.
All right. If any of you are friends with me on Facebook, with like none of you are. Not that I would add you. Well, maybe I would. If I knew you.
Where are you going?
All right, you're gonna
the point is, his Facebook is just littered with things.
Yeah,
constantly.
when you're a stand-up comedian, like pretty much all you do is social media. So like, don't think that I don't do a lot of social media for Space Cats because like I'm not busy.
Because he's
like,
a hermit.
I'm literally doing that all the time. So I'm gonna be on the Twitter this week.
Woohoo!
And Matt, but it's Space Cats Pod. Check it out. You're gonna see where we are
what we're doing,
where we're drinking, where we're eating. Stupid stuff too. I'm sure.
We might give... I don't know that we'll give live game updates, like of the games in progress. Maybe to a certain extent, especially that finals day.
Right.
We might be so busy, though, it's really hard for me to predict what we'll do. But we might kind of give progress updates of just like how the games are going, more generally speaking.
Yeah.
But I can't say that we'll like talk, like our normal posts on Twitter where we do like
because I don't want to give away.
Exactly.
I want you guys to be able to experience the game as as it is.
But if you want to know where we're at and what we're doing, Twitter's the place to be. Facebook you can go to for episode announcements. I also take questions there. That's going to be a great spot to also hit us up if you're just
if
it's literally just like, oh, I can't find what table the tournament is at. Just like hit us up on Facebook and that'll buzz me right in my pocket, and I'll let you know where we're at doing stuff. I take any questions on Facebook all the time, rules questions. It's so funny how often I'll just like, hey, real quick, we're in the middle of this thing, and what happens when PDS are here and then this happens? And it's like, oh yeah, it's probably this. And just like if I have a second, I do rules questions kind of all the time. So Facebook for that.
Reddit Twilight Imperium is how you get in on our weekly discussions and get into the errata and stuff. We're doing errata this time?
Yeah, I'm going to do errata solo this week.
Okay,
Hunter has to jet immediately after this.
Yeah, that's true.
But there'll be errata here in just a second.
There probably won't be errata for this episode. I mean, I don't know what it would be. But there's normally errata, and once we get back from GenCon, we're going to be hitting the analysis pretty hard. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about even changing the name of the show to Analysis Paralysis, and it's where we're like, we just sit here
trips
and all
inside
we do
of
is
me.
analyze
I
games.
talk through every single turn that I have, and you just have to sit there with me while I do it.
You can go to our Board Game Geek Guild to see what whoever's there is doing.
I don't know why we still bring it up.
It's there. It's there.
I have in the thing calendar. I haven't touched the calendar in at least a month. You can email us though at spacecats.peaceturtles@gmail.com. Send us this Imperium Life submissions. That's where we read your in-game moments on full episodes, or plays of the week, which is what we'll do at the end of this. Plays of the week are when we just do a really awesome kind of one-note play that just happened, a cool moment, not the entire game, but just like a boom, and this crazy thing happened. You can also go to our Patreon, Space Cats Peace Turtles at Patreon, and help contribute to this thing that we are about to go do has all been due to our Patreon. The fact that we are able to comfortably go to Gen Con and it doesn't cost like kind of all of our savings from the year or whatever, like we are able to use your contributions to go to Gen Con, and that's been a huge factor. We're speaking to you on better microphones because of your contributions to our Patreon. And going forward from here, after Gen Con, we want to do more to make the show even better. We want to be able to do more video content. We want to be able to do cooler things with the podcast itself, and Patreon is the only way to help make that a reality.
It's not going to happen right away, but I would expect the Patreon is going to be
we're going to revamp
retool.
it. Yeah. I mean, the whole focus of it was always on this Gen Con thing. So yeah, you can expect, and if you're already a part of the Patreon, start messaging us. Tell us like what you want to see out of the Patreon going forward. We have a lot of ideas already, but obviously we want to take your input and see what kind of things you would like to see from the show.
Yeah. Check out our Discord for memes. That's all.
That's about the biggest.
Also, there is a chat channel in it specifically for the Gen Con tournament, and I expect it to be lit up.
Yep. For the Gen Con tournament, there's also Patreon benefit channels. There's a channel for the Good Yin Brotherhood. There's a channel for
the Steve Martin fan club.
Steve Martin fan club. All that stuff. So if you do link your Patreon account to your Discord account, you can take advantage of all of those.
And
things.
I want to announce that Steve is coming to Gen Con.
Steve will be there. Yeah. I called him up yesterday. Just one of my weekly phone calls to him, and I double checked if he got his ticket. I had to buy it for him. I just needed to make sure he got the email. And Steve's going to be there. Yeah,
he's going to be there.
Everyone look forward to hitting us up and hitting Steve up on Twitter while we're at Gen Con.
Yeah. Ask him how we're doing.
Yeah,
that's
that would
good
be great.
Because he's going to be hanging out with us. He's just kind of in the crew.
We're going to be so busy, and he's just there.
He's just there.
He's not doing anything.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, so he's actually a pretty good sound engineer.
Right.
It's like he didn't do the master class on sound engineering, but he could have,
You can rate us on your podcast app of choice, preferably iTunes. If you thought that joke was stupid, give us 5 stars, because that was the goal.
That was a good joke. It's just you have to know about his stupid masterclass.
Hunter, we usually save the spot for comedy, but no. We're at Gen Con this week.
Yeah, we're at Gen Con this week.
Bugger off.
I don't have any dates I want to throw at you. I pretty much left my calendar clear.
But we do want to thank some patrons.
Yes.
We want to thank AM Reichel? AM, we want to thank you. We also want to thank North Star, and we want to thank Chisel.
Chisel.
Thank you guys so much.
Love thanking Chisel.
Yeah. This is where we fade out, and then we go to the errata that you're not going to be a part of.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye, Hunter.
Next time you hear from me, I will have done it all already.
You'll have done it all. What is it?
I've done it all.
I've done all of it, man.
All the GenCon.
All right, and welcome to the Lonely Hearts Club edition of Space Cats, Peace Turtles, errata. I'm all alone. Hunter went to go do comedy before we have to leave for GenCon, so I have to do this by myself. And I'm going to be so lonely the whole time, but I'll give you everything I've got because you guys did some really good errata this week. We are talking about last week's episode about how to win from ahead, which is kind of was an interesting premise, but one that I feel like a lot of people identified with and understand where we were coming from in wanting to talk about this weird issue that happens. First and foremost is Daizen Hills Jensen, a popular member of our Discord, also said on the Twilight Imperium subreddit, one of the best defensive moves you can make is parking destroyers in empty space, nebulas, and above all, gravity rifts. Destroyers have good move and are cheap and block systems like pros. Preventing a ship like the Arx Secundus or a War Sun from reaching your home system is often the difference between victory and defeat. By putting a perimeter up, you can easily keep yourself defended and see attacks coming a turn before they do. Now, I would have originally said that I do love this idea, and it's something I do try to do, except for the issue of trying to actually get those destroyers in all those spots. The idea is just having a perimeter of destroyers. I get that, but like that's kind of ridiculous. But of course, Daizen Hills Jensen gives us a thorough explanation of what they think you should do to achieve that. He says this can be command counter expensive, but not if you plan ahead. By building destroyers early and moving them with your fleets, simply leave one behind once a fleet makes another move. The idea is similar to like the Clanosaur's slug trail with ground forces. The idea with Clanosaur is, yeah, you move your big fleet around, but you're always leaving one or two ground forces behind on every single planet so that it's easier to maintain control of those planets. So this idea of every chance you can build one or two destroyers. We kind of are adding this to the list of things we've already said we're going to default build, right? Like we said, we want to build at least one set of ground forces with every build action. Well, if you're able to, if you're really raking in the dough, add one destroyer to most of your build actions. And then as you move things around, leave those destroyers behind and just leave destroyers in empty space. It is a great idea if you can pull it off. I will say this is a little bit more of a win more kind of thing. It can be hard to just straight up afford those destroyers and not plan to use them in offensive fleets. I do tend to still think of fleets as more offensive, but this is the best way to defensively use a fleet, is to not actually have it be the bulk of your defenses, but to be kind of just this problem that they have to deal with and they can't jump over big spaces to get to your weakest targets, that or your most vulnerable or most useful planets. This is blocking them one system away from ever even getting the option to target your big stuff. And I love it. It is a tricky one to make work in practice, and takes a lot of effort to like make sure you're putting out the proper amount of destroyers and putting them in the right spots and yada yada yada. But if you can get the influence or you can get the resources to have enough of those destroyers, it does work great. MJH Sinclair says, there is an economics concept that I think can help here. Free riding. Yes, if you are in the lead, the table has an interest in stopping you, but each individual player only has interest in you being stopped. At the same time, they need to make sure that once you've been stopped, they have a path to victory. There are no prizes for killing the leader in itself, and it often costs a lot of resources, getting fleets shot by PDS, etc. The cynical, smart play is to encourage everyone else to kill the leader while they sit back and egg them on. You need to play on that. Tell people to play their own game. Tell those in 4th, 5th, and 6th that those that are in 2nd and 3rd place are taking advantage of them. Show people the points they could be scoring instead of gunning for you. And help them if you can. This was something I think we brought up a lot. And I think this is the reason why we were suggesting help those in last place. Because you want them to side with you rather than the people who are in 2nd, 3rd, because you can make the case that 2nd and 3rd are vying for 1st place just as much as everybody else. And if you can give 6th place the roadmap they need to see themselves being in 1st place without completely gutting you of everything that you have, then, that's going to help. MJH Sinclair goes on to say, I think this is uniquely powerful versus some of the other metagame arguments, basically because it's actually true. There really is a dilemma for players between the interests of the pack as a group and their own interests in actually wearing the crown. I think this is where some players also fall into the last round. They see almost every move as being considered king-making. Some people don't like this about Twilight Imperium, and some people just notice that this is the weird thing about the end of the game, which is well, I'm just going to be making somebody king no matter what I do. It's just inevitable that my actions will lead to one player getting an advantage on another one. And I mean, I think this is how I play the entire game, with this mentality that anything I do could lead to someone else, getting that swing round that they needed or whatever. But I think it helps to play off of that fear when you're trying to hold your own lead and just say, well, then why would you target me when it's really the same thing between me and second place? It doesn't matter. Why even bother? With any meta argument, results may vary, and you're just going to see a lot of varying opinions and approaches with this sort of thing. But I do think that the general concept can apply to every single group, which is just, if you're in first, get those in last place to not buy into the idea that you and you alone must be stopped. Everyone must be stopped by the person in sixth place. So they should focus on themselves and hurting the board as a whole, as opposed to just gutting you. Brian, or also known as Tom Booms on Board Game Geek, had this to say: I believe that diplomacy is not first so that it can be countered by at least one player. Wouldn't you feel it was the best last round strategy card if you couldn't be attacked in your home system and you got to swing first? This is in response to Hunter and I were like, well, I don't get why diplomacy isn't first. And I think I kind of knew that diplomacy shouldn't be first. I guess I thought more, why is it leadership specifically that is first? And it does make total sense why diplomacy isn't first. You need at least one person to be able to get in and attack whoever has the... If just the first person who got to lock down their system and score first, well, that's completely ridiculous. That is so overpowered. And I do agree that it should at least be second. I guess I more just want to stress, I don't know why the thing that gets you a bunch of command counters, I don't know why that is the thing that lets you go first as well. It's a strange balance. If anything, why not trade would be interesting first, wouldn't it? I'm going to make more errata just by doing this, but if trade was the first thing that happened, it's the first action that always could happen is just let's all be friends. Why not? I think it sounds fun for all of us to be friends. Obviously, that wouldn't work in practice, but I like thinking about how we could change the order of all the only one that can't change is Imperial. Imperial has to be last. That's just the golden rule. But everything else, I feel like you could play with the order a little bit and get some different weirdness out of it. Last errata. Here we go. TI4 is a virtue, says one critique. I get where you're coming from with holding on to support for the throne for one's hour of negotiating need. I just totally disagree. Once again, go figure. People disagree with our opinions on support for the throne. I'll concede that we're gonna disagree here. When it's your hour of need, vulnerability, other players are much less likely to take that bribe. There's a reason you're freaking out and that they're after you. It's because you're ahead in victory points. That's the whole premise here. I do agree with it. This is a good way to frame this argument, and that's why I liked the way TI4 as a virtue brought it up. It's not just that you need to give support for the throne out early. It's sometimes it is truly too late. When someone has decided you are the leader, there's nothing that will stop them from crushing you. And it's just they've made their mind up. And I've been in that position. I've seen people winning, and I want to hurt them very badly, and so I'm going to do that, and they offer me all sorts of promissory notes, and I'm just like, no, that's not the point of why I'm doing this. The point is not just to get me 1 point, it's to cut you down. And so I do understand the idea of get the support for the thrones out before people realize what is at stake. I just still, for my own benefits, tend to play the other way. I don't want to be locked into any sort of deal like that. Now, TI4's virtue did say they don't like trading their support for the thrones for someone else's support for the throne, and that's kind of where those are where my biggest fears come from with it. So I think that's even more why I'm willing to take TI4 as a virtue's comment with some credence, because I think they would trade support for the throne away in a similar way that I would. So I'm selfish. Ha. All right, let's get out of here because I'm sick of only hearing my own uninterrupted voice. I need Hunter to break up my awkward silences. So instead, I'm going to do a play of the week, and then we're going to get out of here. And then guess what? We're going to be at GenCon, and I'm going to freak out for like 5 days straight, and then I'm going to get home, and I'm going to figure out what I need to do with all of this footage we will have acquired, and it will terrify me for months. Hooray! This play of the week is brought to you by... I have to pull it up again. Whoops, Matt messed up. It's from Zach. It's from Zach Armstrong. Of course it's from Zach Armstrong. I described this as deliciously succinct, so I want you all to be prepared for this very fast play of the week. Here we go. I'm neighbors with the ghosts. They pay me to take the Krius IFF and place it on Mechatol. Sure. However, Soul immediately gravity drives to Mechatol, removing my ability to place it there. Boo. I go silent about holding on to the promissory note, and Krius never makes an issue out of me having it. This is critical. 6 hours later, I drop the beta wormhole on my huge barony fleet that was chilling in my pie slice and get into Nalu's home system on the opposite side of the board with a flank speed. Then follows an hour of everyone else throwing everything against me, but I survive and score Conquer the Weak for the victory. I love it. We like to try to say, like, it doesn't need to be a play that you played for the win, but this one has so much more to it because it's a decision that was made in the first round and doesn't pay off until the very, very last round. Now, maybe it was luck, maybe it was other things, but we're going to say it was the play of the week. I don't know how to outro this by myself. I mean, we never know how to outro this, do we? I just let it fade out on something stupid that someone has said. So I'm just going to say goodbye. Goodbye. We'll see you at GenCon. We really can't wait. So long. Thank you for listening to Space Cat's Peace Turtles. And thanks to Ben Prunty for the use of his music. You can find more at benpruntymusic.com and benprunty.bandcamp.com. Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.